Hey guys. I hope you've enjoyed chapter 42 of The False Prince. I'm so excited to read chapter 43 with you guys. The packet, you just got to keep scrolling down until you see chapter 43. Um, it's all there. There's only a couple of questions that we're going to go over today. They're super easy. You got this, all right? So, here we go. Chapter 43 of The False Prince. At the end of the week, a man came to meet with Jaron in the church. If anyone had asked, the priest would have said he didn't know who the man was, only that he had the air of someone of great importance. But nobody asked. As far as they knew, the boy living in the church was an orphan. Now, if someone has an air of someone of great importance, that means that just them walking into a room, you automatically know, ooh, that's an important guy. That's someone who I need to pay attention to. Not everyone has that, right? There's a difference between if the president were to walk into the room versus just another teacher to walk into the room, right? You can totally tell who's the more important one. Jaron recognized his father immediately, despite his extravagant attempts in disguise. They did not hug. It was not his father's way, but there were tears in his father's eyes, and for the first time, Jaron saw his father as a man, not as a king. They sat in the center of the pews and received little attention from the few patrons who had come that day. It was awkward at first, for although they sat close together, father and son had grown miles apart. I was your age. I wanted to be a musician, Egbert said. It was a poor attempt at connecting with his son, but it was all he had. Did you know that? Jaron nodded. His mother had told them. Jaron nodded. His mother had told him that once. And when he was very young, his father would occasionally show him how to play some of his favorite instruments, although he was careful never to do so when there were servants around. His father thought it would be an embarrassment. Egbert smiled at the memories of his own youth. I enjoyed playing the fiddler, and although I confess I wasn't very good, it brought me a lot of joy. Do you remember when you were younger? I taught you a song or two, I believe. I remember one of them, Jaron whispered. Mother's favorite. Egbert folded his arms together and leaned against the bench of the church. My father, your grandfather, couldn't tolerate the squeaks and pitches of my music and discouraged me from playing. He said music was a useless education for a future king and a waste of my time. Although I didn't understand it then, he was right. Jaron listened quietly. It was hard to picture his father as ever having been a boy, as ever having any desire unconnected with the throne. You and I are not so different as you might think, Jaron. I spent much of my own childhood wishing I could have been someone other than the crown prince. I'm not the crown prince, Jaron reminded him. I'm just a prince. Darius will take the throne. As he should. And he'll be a fine king one day. But what about you? What do you want for your life? Being a prince doesn't seem to suit you. His father had intended to mean that Jaron was capable of anything, even beyond the castle walls. However, Jaron took it that his father felt he was unfit for his title and offered nothing more than a shrug in response. How's your life as a commoner been these past few weeks? Egbert asked. I've managed. I knew you would, and I know you can. Jaron glanced up at his father with questioning eyes. What did he mean by that? Egbert sighed. Still, there will be hard lessons. If you are not Jaron, then you are nobody to the world. They will not care if you go hungry, if you are cold, if you lie beaten on the streets. I'll do the best I can for you and beg your forgiveness that I can't do more. I want to come home, Jaren said softly. It was difficult for him to admit that, but whether he was good enough to be a prince or not, he couldn't take another day on his own. His mother would want him back, probably Darius too. He wasn't sure about his father. You cannot come back, came his father's solemn answer. Jaren set his jaw forward, the way he often did when he fought against his anger. This is my punishment for running away? To be disowned? You are not disowned, and this is not a punishment. It's what your country demands of you now. Jaren rolled his eyes. His father couldn't shove the blame away from himself so easily. If I'm to become a commoner, then, shall I call you King Egbert, or forget your name entirely? That hurt his father. But Jaren hurt too, so he felt justified in his words. You are always my son, Egbert answered. But the situation with the pirates has changed everything. Everyone believes you are dead, and I cannot allow that belief to change. They were silent for a few seconds. Finally, Jaren spoke. If I came home, would you declare war on Avenia for sinking that ship? Egbert sighed heavily. I'd have to, because you could provide the proof that it was Avenian pirates who attacked a ship with a royal on board. If I start a war with Avenia, Gelen will most certainly align with them, and we shall be nearly surrounded by enemies. Carthia could not survive the war. And if I remain missing, would you have to declare a war? If you remain missing, I can tell my people that I will not declare war until there is proof of your death. Then we both know what has to happen, Jaren had said it matter-of-factly. He'd considered this possibility, but hoped against it. What about Darius and Mother? Darius misses you, but he knows there are sacrifices we make for the good of Carthia. Oh, bless me. Your mother doesn't know that you've been found. Obviously, she would want you to come home to her, but she doesn't see the enemies that surround us. Not like I do. We've always had enemies at our borders. Yes, but not all at the same time. Since you've been missing, they've backed off of our borders. Royal courtesy in our time of mourning for you. But the news is worse. I have enemies within Carthia, within my own castle. There are regents who look at my throne with greedy eyes. If I declare war and vengeance for you, they may not support me. They are the ones I fear. Do you think they're a danger to you? Egbert forced a smile onto his face. Regents are always the greatest threat to a king. But I have Darius. If they get to me, the royal line must continue, or else Carthia will destroy itself in a civil war. That's Darius's duty, Jaren. Do you understand yours? He understood it far too well for a boy of only 10 years old. Mine is to remain missing, to not come back. Do you understand that you cannot reveal your true identity out here? You must change everything about yourself that you can. Lighten your hair with some dyes. Grow it out to alter the look of your face. I am told you speak with an Avenian accent. Keep that. I can use my left hand, Jaren offered. I always preferred it anyway. And rid yourself of anything you might have learned in the castle, of learning, of culture, of skills. There is an orphanage in Karcher, not far from here, but back within Carthian's borders. It's run by a woman whose reputation is good, Mrs. Terbeldi. Now you must understand that I cannot have payment made to her for your care. You go there as an orphan, without any advantage over the others. It will be a hard few years until you're of age and can live on your own. Tears stung in Jaren's eyes, but he pushed them away. He wouldn't give his father the satisfaction of seeing his pain. If Egbert noticed his son's breaking heart, he didn't acknowledge it. So that means King Egbert either pretended he didn't see that Jaren was hurting and that he was so sad, or two, he saw it, but he didn't make any mention of it. He didn't want to say anything to Jaren that would make him feel even worse. This is such a sad time in Jaren's life. He is basically disowned. He cannot live with his family anymore. He has to live in an orphanage. This hurts. Imagine yourself in Jaren's shoes. All of a sudden, you cannot live with your mom and dad and siblings anymore. You're on your own. You have to go to an orphanage. That kind of stinks. You're going to feel that pain in your heart. That right there is emotional appeal, right? You're feeling what the characters are feeling because of what the author wrote. Okay, let's continue. Egbert gave Jaren a handful of silver coins. Come up with a story to get yourself into that orphanage. Say you stole these or whatever excuse you'd like, but they will buy your way through the front doors. I can fake an illness when the coins run out, Jaren said. Let her think she's got the truth from me. And did Jaren actually do that? Well, did Sage actually do that? Yeah, remember? Mrs. Terbeldy sent Sage/Jaren into the basement when he was faking this illness and told him, get over it or die, I don't care. That's why he pretended to have this illness, because him and King Egbert were talking about it to make it work for himself. Kind of interesting, right? We're here, but we're learning more stuff about the beginning of the story. This is why I love this book. It's just so good. Ugh. All right. Egbert smiled. You've used that trick often enough on your own tutors. What an irony that it might keep you alive now. There is always the possibility of Mrs. Terbeldy trying to sell you into servitude, but I don't think she'd find any buyers. No, Jaren agreed. I'm too difficult for anyone to want me. Exactly, his father said. The full meaning of Jaren's words probably didn't occur to him, which almost made it hurt worse. Egbert untied a small satchel at his waist, which he pressed into Jaren's hand. I have a gift in there for you, the best of anything I could offer. There is a letter instructing you on how to use it. Jaren looked in the satchel, then closed it up again. It meant nothing to him. When Egbert stood to leave, Jaren placed a hand over his father's arm and whispered, Stay a little longer. If I do, the priest will grow suspicious, Egbert said. This is real, then? Jaren's heart pounded, though he couldn't tell whether it was from sadness or fear for his future. When you leave, I'm no longer Prince Jaren. I'll be nothing but a commoner, an orphan. You will always be a royal in your heart, Egbert said tenderly. There may come a time when you must be Prince Jaren again for your country. You'll know if that time does come. Am I alone? Egbert shook his head. I'll come in disguise on the last day of every month to the church nearest Mrs. Terbeldy's orphanage. If you ever need to see me, I'll be there. Then he left. And from that moment on, I became Sage of Avenia, orphaned son of a failed musician and a barmaid, who knew little of the king and queen of Carthia and cared even less, completely alone. That's the end of the chapter. So, the two questions in the packet, okay, they're very simple, like I said at the beginning of the video. The first one is, what's the purpose of the author using flashback sequences at this point in the story? So, why Why did Jennifer Nelson decide to put these two chapters where she put them? Why is that important? Should we have known that earlier? Should we have known it at the beginning? Should have waited until the end of the book? Why do you think it was important that she put it there? Okay? The second one. Okay? It says, with the revelation of Sage truly being Prince Jaren all along, why didn't he reveal his true identity to Connor? Don't you think that would have kept him alive? That's a good question. Try and figure it out. Why did he take such punishment and leave doubt to his identity if he chose to reveal it later? So, again, he was the one that was deciding to get sent into the dungeon and get whipped and all of this stuff. Why would he do that knowing that he is the real Prince Jaren? Okay? So you're going to answer that question. Now it says to use text support, and I know that a large majority of you do not have this book at your house, so if you need to rewind my video, you can. But if you don't find any text support, I will be okay. You will be fine. This isn't getting graded anyway. This is just for you to do. Yeah. Oh, I sneezed again. I'm so sorry. So if you have any questions, email me. Have your parents email me. I'll be posting another one of these hopefully tomorrow. So, all right. Peace out, guys. Stay healthy. Stay safe. Keep loving on your families. I miss you guys. I'll see you soon. Bye.